Anthropology optional has a good mix of science and humanities, and in the UPSC exam too, questions tend to be fairly objective, and also they tend to get repeated over years. Someone who has finished the entire syllabus will be in a position to attempt the paper without much trouble. But if you want to score more than 300 plus, then the answers must have special edge. The following pointers can be helpful. Scholarly definition. In this, you try to define the concept and possibly mention the relevant anthropologist's name, their work, and year of publication of such work to define that concept. For example, if a question comes on the term family, you should ideally begin your answer with something like Peter Murdoch, in his study Social Structure, gave definition of family as a social group represented by economic cooperation, residence, and reproduction. So always aim to have such scholarly definitions in your answers. Unlike in GS, in optional your writing should be scholarly. You should try and replicate the exact definition as given by the scholar rather than writing it in your own words. This is a fundamental difference between an optional answer and a GS answer. Second, diagrams. Try to incorporate diagrams in most of your anthropology answers, especially in physical anthropology questions. There is an immense scope for adding diagrams and illustrations, and these physical anthropology questions also tend to be objective and highly scoring compared to socio-cultural anthropology topics. Even in socio-cultural anthropology topics, try to illustrate your concepts with flowcharts. The complete list of diagrams for both physical anthropology and socio-cultural anthropology topics is beyond the scope of the book or this video. I had shared the complete list of diagrams on my blog post on anthropology. Just do a Google search for Anudeep anthropology and you will find relevant articles on my blog. Anthropology answers must sound technical in the sense that, as discussed earlier, your definitions, main arguments, and the criticism must, wherever possible, be by an anthropologist. For example, in a concept like economic exchange systems, do not just write various types such as balanced exchange, redistribution, or market exchange. Make it a point to mention about Malinowski and his work in Trobriand Islanders, and do mention about Collaring exchange as an example. So try to be technical and quote as much work of anthropologists as possible. In your answers, make it a point to include examples both from India and the world for paper 1. Next, to frame your answers properly, use proper subheadings and frame your answers. This is a technique that we have used extensively in GS as well, where we break down the question into different parts and try to answer each of them under different subheadings. The same goes for anthropology. In paper 2, you can use case studies in your answers to make it more relevant and contemporary. Just be sure not to exceed word limit for these case studies. Ideally, they should span not more than 1/4 of your answer. Finally, wherever apt, try to incorporate current affairs in your conclusion part of your answers. You would find latest research findings in newspapers in a notebook where you document all such research and try to quote them in your answers. Now let us understand the principles through a sample answer. Critically examine land alienation among Indian tribes. Now, for this question, we start with introduction of what land alienation means from a tribal perspective. So you start with land alienation problems definition, saying that it refers to process whereby land is transferred from tribes to non-tribes through unauthorized means. And then probably you can use a flowchart to describe the methods in which such a land alienation takes place, such as concubinage, marriage, benami, lease, fake certificate creation, forgery of revenue records, encroachment, land grab, etc. Next, you discuss about the causes of such land alienation. Basically, since it's a critical examination of the issue, you discuss the causes, consequences, and also the solutions for that issue. So under this causes, you enlist various reasons that cause land alienation in tribes, and also do mention examples where such land alienation has happened. Next, you can also quote a case study. This is, I think this case study I found in Khaka report, which is an excellent resource for finding case studies relating to tribal issues. So make a note of all such case studies and you would use them judiciously in your answers. So be sure to be specific in mentioning tribal names and the tribal project in your case study, so as to sound specific and true. And later you discuss the consequences of land alienation along with proper statistics to ensure that it is not too generic or a GS type answer. So you discuss about important statistics that result in terrible consequences for tribals due to land alienation. And once you finish that, you come to the way forward, where you discuss the recommendations of Khaka committee. So you discuss 4 or 5 solutions, which gives a nice ending to the answer. So be sure to give specific recommendations wherever possible for your answers in paper 2, so as to end your answer on a positive visionary note.